后的事情呢？90年代真没有几个能踢的。中村俊辅也没有进5大联赛踢吧？中村俊辅不是在那个格拉斯哥流浪者不是流浪者还是凯尔特人啊？中村俊辅好像在凯尔特人吧？是凯尔特人吗？那个叫我忘记了，反正就是苏格兰那个队伍嘛。中村俊辅。对呀，他在苏超踢的呀。但中村俊辅还有点东西的，任意球是有点强。Either way, though, Solar is a very scary opponent. Not really somebody you can ever, you can never count out, right? That's been the case for a very long time. 李铁就那么回事儿吧。就那么回事。以前去英超踢的李铁、李伟峰也没上过2场。李铁、李伟峰、郑智、孙继海，这几个是在英超踢过的。杨晨在德甲踢过的，对吧？这个都是到5大联赛踢过的。那范志毅没有踢过英超，就没有踢过，就踢的是英甲。马明宇没上过场，在佩鲁贾，是不是？马明宇到了佩鲁贾1场都没上过。谢辉也没踢过德甲，谢辉踢的是德乙。水晶宫他妈是英甲呀，又不是英超。And his opponent, all the way in the opposite corner of the map, makes some noise for Solar. 好了，不扯了，看比赛了。These two, they've been competing for a very long time. I remember watching their games literally over a decade ago at this point. A lot of these players have been around for such a long time, but HeroMarine and Solar were there in the early days of SC2, and they're still competing. Yeah, it's been really fun to kind of watch the rise of both. Solo was obviously one of the Casper Zergs as well, but he was one of the first kind of Casper Zergs to start venturing into online tournaments, just other tournaments in general. So he was kind of one of the first to kind of really show himself to the rest of that group of Korean players. And that was really good. So yeah, he's been around for a long time. 这个后面的比赛，我们中国选手之外的比赛，我们就以欣赏的角度来看一看了。河马呢，最近是去上大学了，但是呢，比赛还是依旧在打，而且河马在这个帽子战队啊，已经待了10年了吧，估计有，他就没有离开过帽子战队，也算是效力很长的一个选手。Yeah, we've seen a lot of different varieties from Terran versus Zerg in particular as of late. A lot of different build orders. I mean, that one game that we saw yesterday from Maru comes to mind, where he played one of the craziest Terran builds I've seen. 单兵营开矿 Not really something I expect HeroMarine to go for, because that was like a triple commence. 德国迈克赛德，你说的没错，他就一直在这个帽子战队。这个帽子也是支老牌战队了，当年魔兽争霸的时候 ，Fly 就在这个战队效力过。魔兽争霸的时候就是一支很老牌的就有这支战队了，德国的战队。然后当时他还有那个 CSGO 他们队，不，那个都不是 CSGO， 那个是 CS 1.6。CS 1.5，我记得那个902是不是就是他们队的？就是在国内第一个出名的 CSGO 的 CS 的这个选手，就是902，好像就是他们队的。So the fact that Gabe's happy to play against that stage of the game really shows his confidence in this matchup. Solar 打河马呢，其实主要还是看河马现在爆兵能力怎么样。Link speed's done, and there's a triple CC, so whatever it's going to be from Gabe, it's going to be very economic focused initially. Solar generally likes playing that very macro focus. 帽子现在也不说痱子什么他妈的。专门跟他们干的吗？不是，现在不是有个什么年轻人吗？叫什么杜克吗？这2天不是有个杜克把痱子都抓起来炸鱼了吗？是不是有个这个选手啊？就是出了个年轻选手，把现在这些顶级选手都炸鱼了。 We'll have to see here exactly what Solar ends up going for. If I were to make a guess, I think Solar is just going to
是有这个人吗？是这个洞可是吧？
But I think he'll just absorb as many attacks as possible and then eventually overwhelm.
雪碧的，
I mean that's Solar in a nutshell. Like,
那么强。
Solar's losing the game and losing. He's just about holding on, and then Lurkers pop out and boom! All of a sudden it's like he's a different player. He's a beast. He's just so good when it gets to that point.
感谢球奶 egg 哥赚不到钱的，这个是鸡蛋是吧？赚不到钱的飞机，感谢兄弟 egg。
So Hellion Banshee, a very standard way to open, especially when you've gone for the economy of triple CC. And we'll see where HeroMarine goes.
隐形女妖开，隐形女妖火车。
Is this bio? Is this mech? What's the plan?
HeroMarine, by the way, apparently still playing with a wire.
才16岁啊，那么猛啊！那不是 CS:GO 变天了？
Apparently, Gabe not making that decision. Comfortable with the gear that he's been using probably for a very long time.
河马这个键盘还挺好
Why
看
really make any changes and make it more difficult than it really needs to be? But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a very normal build from both players. We've got a layer.
今天小组不打完，小组还有最后一场啊，今天不打完。那个李平南的生死战在明天。
Look at that for a second factory.
Yep, I think Mech was always on the agenda, and I thought so with the Banshee as well, right? Because the Banshees have a potential to then get Hyperfly Rotors and to keep building Banshees, and that's been one of the more popular ways of playing the Mech recently as well.
感谢邱老鲜奶 YJ 诸事不顺的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
So yeah, we're gonna get that second factory coming up. We're gonna see the fun and games build up. Rotron, at least on the way from Solar, that's very important. He needs to have that preemptively, otherwise dealing with this mech could have been a struggle in the early stages.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Could have gone for a bailing nest as well, but that's
感谢球奶孙宁孝顺父母的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
That will not be too much of a surprise right here for Solar. That is an upgrade we see most of the time, right? At least when Banshees are coming up, especially if there's two of them. But that Hyperflight Rotors upgrade, that is a speed buff for the Banshees. That usually only gets played when you're going to go mass Battle Mech. Now with Battle Mech, we're usually talking about Cyclones, Hellions, and Banshees. And those
河马用的还是有线鼠标，他用的是那个罗技的那个，就是那个什么 G520， 502好像是，用的是罗技的鼠标，有线的一个。然后这个 Solar 用的是狗屁王，应该是。 上来强烧一波，6个农民还要强烧，再往里绕。Solar 你妈永远这个地方漏个父母，我操！7个农民。
Yeah, that's a relatively expensive set of Terran units to lose as well, though, right? You don't want to just send them away for just.
河马这波不赚，他这波这样送一波的话，他其实不赚，他接话了，直接转导弹车，然后提速女妖。
Although Hellions are coming in from the bottom.
Clearly calculated. Realistically though, this is kind of nice because now you're starting to pick up some of these.
好，来看看河马的Solar 第一视角啊，这个是。 Solar 也是编虫卵的，你看现在的这些顶级虫族，他们还是喜欢编虫卵。这编虫卵的习惯就是自由之翼的时候练出来，因为自由之翼没有 F2，所以你造兵你最好是能够编到虫卵里面，然后你的兵出来一下就到你的部队里了。 就一直在编虫卵，然后后来有了 F2之后，大家就不太编虫卵了。但是这些习惯其实是很好的，因为你编虫卵，你就可以不用 F2。
But here go the Banshees, and these are speed Banshees that are completely cloaked. They will be spotted with the little blur, but if you don't pay attention to them, right, they can kill an entire mineral line worth in just a few seconds. Hydras, by the way, nice and quick here for Solar, but...
I mean, Solar's all in. He's on 66 drones, stopped droning a long time ago just to keep on making units.
Solar 直接一波顶出去了。
This big push, you see tanks from HeroMarine.
河马这边导弹车速度还在升啊，有坦克，有隐形女妖，有坦克，这妈凭什么打得进去啊？这波Solar凭什么打得进去啊？他妈你以为隐形女妖没输出是吧？在后面。哎，坦克呢？他就一个坦克吗？哦，又有新的坦克出来了。这女妖在后面截下后援就行了。 继续架坦克，女妖不能送，其实就截后援。我靠，女王都走上来了，啊，Solar拼一枪啊！ 河马建筑学做好，有几个坦克？关键是看1个、2个、3个，3个。索拉应该要冲，3个坦克他应该要冲。但是地形不好，4个坦克了，能砸掉1个。这波冲是不是索拉有点太冲动了呀？我靠，索拉不管了，他妈直接往脸上怼，也就4个坦克而已，妈前站机8个坦克都要冲，妈给索拉冲下来了，你敢信？这你妈！索拉真他妈勇啊！我靠，这冲完也没剩几个兵，但是这够了，冲下来，够了，冲下来就行。杀了15个农民。
For our Terran, so that's making all of this a little more difficult than it needs to be. Ultimately, though, I do believe he's going to be able to hold on, although there's still no drones here for Solar. He's going to follow this wave of Zerg units up with even more.
I was gonna say, I feel like we need another wave of cyclones.
索拉人称小战旗。这没有这个基地了，这个再冲，索拉又冲，变火车侠，火车侠要硬一些啊，可以在前面顶一顶。顶一顶上去把刺蛇摸了，我要顶住我，变形顶住我，还有1个坦克2个坦克，但是现在部队很散，完了，冲飞了，冲飞了，没了，这个经济打爆了，直接。索拉这个60农民一拳，真他妈搏命啊！真的搏命，他就60个农民，4矿农民都没补，直接拼一枪的。又杀了26个农民，但其他农民也没领先太多。河马还有47个农民。这波索拉没有农民的，59个他只有。河马又守住了。索拉不按农民吗？就继续冲到底了。这河马爆兵运营真的还不错的，就即便是打机械化，他兵还是很多。牛牛哥哥，牛牛哥，别问了，别问，已经在备战利亚德了，已经成为世界上最早的一批备战利亚德的选手了。电竞世界杯我来了。河马怎么刚表扬他就送一波啊
？Relatively cost-efficient trades, but these Zerg units that, yeah, that we just saw murdering the Terran army, they're going to be going across the map once again.
At least they have to come all the way back home, though. That gives Gabe more time to get a tank line set up, and that would be his saving grace. And yeah, he's got a lot of them in this.
最早备战的是把本他妈又没有名额，把本备战啥利亚德？那牛牛哥哥他好歹这个亚洲区积分说不定第1，对不对？第1就有名额。那把本有没有名额？他备战啥呢？抽奖过一会儿嘛，等9要来了我们再抽呀。别慌啊，过一会儿再抽。
Blinding Cloud is an amazing ability here for Solar, or even abductions, right? So those Vipers are incredibly handy. There they are as soon as the hive finished up. Couple of Hellions once again going around.
昨天是中国星际过年的呀，他妈今天过完了呀。妈过年你有天天过的吗？就过1天呀。我靠，这个河马怎么突然一下那么多兵啊？
He wants to attack before those Vipers are out, and he knows he's on a timer.
At least getting in position before the Vipers out is nice as well. You're going to see Solar counter-attacking. We'll see how HeroMarine handles that. Remember, HeroMarine's also only on 3 bases, right? He's not really setting up for the much longer game himself. So this also becomes quite
Solar 换家，但换家他怎么都解决得了的。守坦克了，索拉敢冲吗？想砸！哎呦，这个坦克数量有点厚啊，等飞蛇了。但前面导弹车顶在前面，你飞蛇还不一定布得了。他给的压力很大，让你飞蛇没有机会再布。现在，这坦克还在往前架，他看到飞蛇了都敢这么架吗？这索拉怎么感觉在动兵呢？索拉，飞蛇来了，终于来了。 但是你来的时候你已经死了一半兵了，索拉被冲死了吗？我靠，河马真的铁血啊！妈不是说好读书去了吗？怎么还那么强？真他妈铁血！就是兵多。河马现在2-0，昨天他是河马2比0孤密火，2比1沙师傅。那河马赢了不是出现了这场今天？河马真的读书去了，他去读了一个什么专业我忘记了。主要是雷蛇的吗？我没注意，我一会儿看一眼。河马是一个很奇葩的人物，他的那个鼠标他是开加速的，妈快的一匹。他开了个精确定位什么的，就那个鼠标 Windows 自带的那个，你妈的，我们开的点都点不准，他就要开这个。感谢乃我不能转正加薪的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。点都点不准，开了。
But yeah, HeroMarine gets to go off to a 1-0 lead in this series. Great start.
然后河马的爱好是做披萨，这是他手艺。他最喜欢就是在家里面做披萨。而且他做的披萨很好吃。每次宅男杯他都要把他家里面做披萨这个炉子扛过去，然后就跑到那边去做披萨。河马是德国人呀，但是他就喜欢做披萨。感谢今年找不到好工作的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
Big Gabe card out.
Big card for a big man.
Indeed it is.
Looking confident though. I really like what he's doing.
但我真的是忘记他是什么专业的了。
poorly for him in that previous game was that fight at the start, right? But it was small errors, right? Nothing really went horribly wrong for him. Solar decided to go for an all-in and he decided to double down and HeroMarine is going to use that information right now against his opponent as he decides to go for a command center first right here on the low ground. Is this a game where Solar is really going to go for a pool first? Honestly, it's not really something that Solar does very frequently in general. It's going to be a hatch into a gas and then eventually a spawning pool for Solar. So HeroMarine is going to be able to get away with it easy peasy.
Yep, absolutely. CC first, very hard to punish unless you like blindly like one base Roach Ravage all in or something, right? And you're down a game. Like, would you ever want to?
感谢球奶不能和苏晨在一起的飞机，感谢兄弟。
Gets away with this. One racks into the gas, and just a little bit of better eco to start off with. And this huge match in this group, right? Because these two, the winner of this is very likely going to have a good shot at just continuing through to first place in the group.
Yeah.
And first place is massive. You get straight to the round of 8. You get straight into a qualification match for the Esports World Cup. And just the chance to make that run at the championship. Last year, Gabe, he made playoffs for the second year in a row. Starting the round of 12, met Oliveira. So we all know how that ended.
Yep.
But that's the thing. You get to skip that round of 12, and there's no easy matchup there in that best of 5. So first place is huge, and that's why these group stages are so important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So to clarify, if you end up first in your group, you go straight into the top 8.
看到裸双，这个房子过来一看就裸双了。
So you effectively have to play an extra series of games. It is a lot more comfortable to go out in first place if possible, and obviously also pretty good for.
我靠，直接3基地！
Yeah, and I was gonna say as well for HeroMarine, if he wins this.
妈，河马他妈偷到底是吧？
Yeah, I do think that's gonna be potentially the easier players in the group, right? No one's easy, but
yeah,
considering he took down Spirit and Gumiho already.
这个河马也太他妈偷了。
This group becomes a lot more tense. But anyways, back to this one.
Absolutely. So. Second barracks coming up here already as well for
这个3基地真的有点过分，然后家里面再补一个兵营，极限偷。
What that means is that he won't have a whole lot of roaming units here in the earlier stages of this match. There may be a Reaper or two at most. It's just going to be a single one, and Solar trying to.
把你这条狗抓了，上来看到挂了个双倍。 那这还不好判断。开局再进来再看一眼，还要再看一眼，但这边有个机枪啊，不一定看得到。
That barracks, and usually that's where you would expect it. So already alarm bells are going off inside of Solar's head.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're a little bit worried. You're a little bit kind of like, huh, what's going on? As you see this overload here, gonna see the reactor on the barracks.
今天反正过一会儿还有鸡哥和夜蝶的比赛。今天夜蝶的比赛会比较晚一点，鸡哥的比赛在12点左右。感谢球老现在各位事业不顺的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。 所以大家也不用急啊，大家也不用急。现在是 A 组的比赛，这 A 组的比赛就随便看看就好了。然后我们今天会给大家抽，还是抽红包啊？抽红包，抽这个10个666，把昨天反正抽了没抽好嘛，然后今天再补一下，抽10个666给大家。等孙哥来了我们就抽。
Already, you can see that reflected here at the bottom of the screen. As, okay, nice little kill right here on the Reaper. Any worker kill at this point is massive. 2? Really?
Okay.
2个农民，我靠，他他妈的3个农民，这什么东西啊？一个死神杀了Solar3个农民。那河马现在不是要暴兵如尿攻，他已经偷出来了，攻防已经开始提了，Solar 2个 BV 还没下。感谢球老现在这次晋升失败的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
I like that Solar decided to skip any follow-up links, so obviously he didn't have Zerglings right there to defend against it, but
能不能抽100个666？那等兄弟发财了，好吧？等兄弟哪天发财了，有空，妈的，也不叫发财了，然后我们就找机会抽。 感谢球老仙奶今年运气差的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
Opening melee upgrades, they're not going to be in place straight away to help you against what's going to be +1 on these Marines as well. Like HeroMarine has a couple scary moments coming up for Solar.
河马好像没有提防，他就只提了1攻。哎，你看他第一视角嘛，这个河马的第一视角真的，他那个鼠标是开了加速的，巨快，但他点的很准。 他这个鼠标真的很快，你看他鼠标移，但很准，很准。你在后面看还不感觉他是个高手。
So at this point, I believe that this is completely unscouted. There's a chance that an Overlord was in vision range of this, just barely, but
我都不知道他怎么点的，我就感觉他这个鼠标他妈点都点不准，他妈的真的点都点不准，他这个鼠标感觉。
They're not going to mess around, instantly leaving, just going to unload elsewhere. Not going to waste too much time there. I think the second attack, when he's going to have combat shield with this as well, with another round of medevacs and marines, that could be very scary. So he's going to have to make sure he has some bailings.
感谢求黄哥奶今年不能留用的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。河马第一视角真的很搞。
Ultimately, though, the Marine medevac count is growing. 12 of those bad boys are coming up at a time here, and
对啊，他鼠标是有加速度的呀，他开了这个加速度的呀。他妈开加速度真的很飘逸。感谢祝陈瑞9族昌盛的一个飞机，感谢兄弟，代表叔叔谢谢你。
Because he knows his strength lies in the very first attack. He knows how much that can do for him.
卡一个位置，装了走。
Trouble Solar as much as you can until then, but don't do it at the cost of any units. Because with 1-1, he's going to have a timing window where you can already see the 40 army supply lead is going to be tough for Solar to overcome.
这河马兵，你看这个是不是暴兵如尿攻嘛？7分半钟已经180人口了，他妈的真的兵多！7分40秒，180人口在往外推，这就是河马，他妈用枪兵滚毒爆的男人，185人口啦，8分钟200， 8分钟200一拳。 然后用枪兵去滚别人的毒爆。他妈的，他的打法就是枪兵滚毒爆，就是多。他妈索拉被被 A 的一愣一愣的。换家了，哇！这波农民37个，河马被换家换爆了。河马家里面被换爆了，只能正面拼一枪了。You may just end up losing everything here at the front, but HeroMarine has to win the game essentially with this push, or at the very least deal critical. 但这个正面枪兵是真的多，索拉换家是对的，打正面说不定输了。就这样换完了，大家人口还差不多。河马操作不是很好，他就是兵很多，还有那么多枪兵，我日了，还有那么多枪兵。这索拉真他妈日了！这他妈怎么还有一坨河马3-0出现呢？
He is so confident, man. Not really second guessing himself whatsoever. He decided his strategy and he stuck with it. You can see that he's feeling a fantastic.
还有那么多枪兵出现了，河马，但3-0这个小组直接出现，索拉他妈惊呆了，我靠，怎么会那么多兵啊？
And man, just absolutely great series. He knows how important that is. He is really set up for greatness in this event right now. HeroMarine just keeps on doing it year after year in Katowice. All started off with this mech game, which looked very dicey, but just about the one exit he had towards a victory.
Absolutely.
就现在，其实你从星际2来看啊，就是从即时战略游戏来看，其实怎么说呢？大家对即时战略的理解啊，就是领悟理解，要比20年前要真的深刻太多了。你会知道，操作暴兵运营这些东西都是缺一不可的。但其实，在20年前，其实星际争霸是经历过一个流派上的一个这个争论的，到底是暴兵重要还是操作细节，就是那种占小便宜重要，这个是一个很大的一个争论。有一个流派的一个这个，就有点像剑宗和气宗的这种分歧。但实际上到今天为止，你会知道哪有什么剑宗气宗，只有全面才能成为王者。在那个年代不是，那个年代就是以 Boxer 为首的韩国选手。他们都是这个以微观到宏观的一个这个理解，就是通过小局部的操作来占小便宜，然后积累优势，最后获得比赛胜利。然后以那个 NT69，就是荷兰的一个 NT69 NTT 这个选手为主的欧洲选手，就是不注重细微的微操作，就像河马这种风格，就是靠运营、靠暴兵来获得比赛胜利。就是你可以在微观上他吃很多亏，但是他最后兵就是比你多。这两种流派其实是经过了很多的这个争论的，到底谁更厉害，到底谁更强。而且在那个年代的话，因为信息比较闭塞，交流也比较少。所以谁也说服不了谁，双方都有各自的这种支持者。有人说是欧洲这边的人族更厉害，有人说是韩国这边的人族更厉害，争论了很久。
妈了个鸡的，牛牛哥哥就这样2-2啦，
没了呀，牛牛哥哥已经。明天只有看邦尼脸色了，
生死战了呀。
明天要看，不是生死战，牛牛哥哥明天必须要赢完了还要看邦尼怎么打。邦尼如果输了就结束，邦尼赢了还有机会。感谢球奶黄须功能上传奇的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
感谢兄弟啊！我看一下，
哎呀，你不用看了，我都算好了给大家。就邦尼赢了 ，Clam 啊，邦尼如果2-0，那牛牛哥哥就必须2-0。邦尼如果2-1，牛牛哥哥2-1也可以出现。
他你妈今天输的那么干净啊！我靠！
啊，他跟 Clam 这场太可惜了，妈的，真的是打到一兵一卒，就最后一个小失误输了。他如果 Clam 上面拿一个小分，今天的形势会好很多。就在 Clam 身上，只要拿一个小分，形势都会完全不一样。就这一场，他就算那场是1-2输给了 Clam， 对不对？那 Clam 现在减一个小分，牛牛哥哥加一个小分，一进一出就2个小分，那这个就是决定小组出线的一个小分。牛牛哥哥就一个小分是这 Clam 这场，还有一场是把本那场，把本他妈全场赢的一个小分，就是赢的牛牛哥哥这个小分，就这2个小分导致他现在这么被动。
就说白了就是明天帮你得赢，然后牛牛哥哥也要赢，然后牛牛哥哥就能进。
我还要看牛牛哥如果帮你2-0，牛牛哥哥也必须2-0。很难，我跟你说，明天真的很难。
那就等于牛牛哥哥如果比如说啊，牛牛哥哥2-0帮你1-2的话，那你妈的胜负关系还是克莱姆赢，
没有胜负关系了呀，哪来的胜负关系？就只要帮你输就结束了。
对，没错。
克莱姆赢就结束。
Excellent form from HeroMarine and Solar. I think it's going to be the outlier. But I said that was possible. So there.
而且帮你打不过克莱姆啊，关键。
Great stories coming together. Solar.
他妈这是最关键的，你们这妈说半天，帮你打得过克莱姆吗？帮你又打不过克莱姆。
他妈这个是还真打不过，我靠。那岂不是已经没了？
是呀，他都在备战利亚德了，好吧？
又备战利亚德啊！
而且牛牛哥哥也打不过庄格纳罗克呀。
本来这软格拉罗克，你妈个鸡的3杠1起来了，我靠！
Gabe's here saying, "What about Gabe? What about me?" And like, rightly so, he's playing really good. That first game, he was put in a real dicey spot.
我们先随便看一会儿啊，随便看一会儿这个。看一会儿，晚上一会儿等鸡哥和这个夜蝶的比赛。
先还是鸡哥的比赛还早呢，这个比赛
还早，12点呢。
鸡哥比赛12点，对。
但也不一定，他这个打得快的话，说不定11点多就有了。
夜蝶今天晚上最后一场，它上面标的是标3点，但是不知道。
As for Solar on the other side, his next matchup's going to be against Gumiho, so it doesn't get much easier really for him here, even though. Usually, again, when it comes to this matchup, I usually think Solar's very good in the matchup, ZG. So I do give him sway.
Yeah, absolutely. As much as I was referencing the times that he's met his nemesis Maru, like he was pretty much making them always very contentious and very close every time they would meet. So it's not like he's bad at the matchup at all. And to call him as the victor of this group, I think was most people's expectations. And certainly,
刚才是HeroMarine赢了是吧？
赢的呀，2-0，妈的太猛了。HeroMarine刚才打了一把，打第2盘打了一把，你知道是多夸张吗？7分半中180人口，枪坦直接一波。
7分半3跨
啊！
他怎么做到的
？8分钟不到200人口在脸上了。这你妈 ！Solar 被他机枪滚毒爆滚死了。
妈的 HeroMarine！ 7分半180人口是不是也有点夸张了？你妈个鸡的！你说蟑螂那我信的，重组7分半180人口我信的。
枪坦呀，真的呀。
When it comes to Katowice, it's just Katowice magic, man. Like he's
8分钟190人口，你不要乱说，这你妈。
他这个运营他妈到底是怎么做到的？我靠，
真的夸张，多比 Solar 大概领先40人口 ，Solar 他妈人都傻了。
This ZG really is kind of a fight down towards the bottom here to try and stay alive for the most part.
Yeah, trying to stay alive and then trying to throw a wrench into the top 4 currently plan, right? I mean, again, like a lot of these guys, like the top 4 right now can still have a lot of confidence. They're still going to make it through. The game is still within their control. Right, so that feels really nice. But then if you add in tomorrow, that last tricky round, then suddenly
下一场是沙师傅对 Trigger 这个 A 组的比赛，反正就这样的，大家随便看看吧。
If only that changed a little bit, right? But yeah, for these guys, specifically Spirit and Trigger, it's all about staying alive, as no one is technically out of this group as the negative out or the positive out.
All right, well, time for a break. When we return, we have more on the way here from Group A. HeroMarine's giving himself a leg up after that win. Let's find out.
今天其实夜底也是一场关键战了，夜底今天打阿斯崔亚这一场特别重要。打赢阿斯崔亚，他就有机会能出现。
哎，IEM 的赞助商还是没有这个厉害啊！
废话，你说石油杯，那我跟你说个毛？
沙特阿美，这你妈，他就一个赞助商，对吧？沙特阿美，
这个不是这个英特尔的这个赞助已经是全世界最屌的赞助了。
那是。
那么你不能去跟沙特阿美去比的呀，这个不一样，黄哥。
哎，你看看别人淘宝店的这个广告，这个就是 Yeso 淘宝店的广告，你看看别人的，再看看我们的，老子他妈的就被人炸了。那别人的整那么帅，